Hey guys, we are the Midnight Riders coming back at you for another beautiful episode. Quick disclaimer, just like always, if you've got small kids, this is probably not appropriate for their fragile little ears. Something that we've been getting a lot of questions about is how did we come up with this name and what is the significance behind it? So, obviously, we are Washington-style patriots. George Washington is basically our superhero. And there's one superhero from that time that most people don't realize how important and significant of a role he played, and that was Paul Revere. Right? Paul Revere and his midnight ride to warn of the oncoming British attack is possibly what enabled the revolution to be won to begin with, right? Because if it wouldn't have been for that, it would have been a surprise attack, and they definitely wouldn't have been ready for it. So Paul Revere's midnight ride, and he's not the only one. I mean, there was obviously a couple of midnight riders, but the history books are written in favor of him. And so since we're motorcycle riders, and since we take riding seriously, and we've been known to ride at dark a few times and ride home in midnight and in rain and all kinds of stuff. So our message is kind of the same as Paul Revere's. We are warning America about the enemy that is coming in, that is coming in while we're sleeping and while we're not paying attention. This is our midnight ride. We are here to truly warn people about how dangerous of a situation this is getting ready to be. And take it seriously or don't. This is obviously a personal judgment call, but we feel so strongly about it that we wanted to emulate that Paul Reverian style of bugle call, and so that's where we got our name from. It's not to we're not trying to steal anybody else's name. We realize that there's a couple of other midnight riders. There's a band.
But they don't share the same.
Well, right.
The message behind it, which is why we felt so compelled. To share.
Well,
the whole ideology behind.
Exactly.
Because it's not just a name that one of us thought of. It came through careful thinking. I mean, we have long talks all the day about all different kinds of subjects, but obviously history is obviously a huge passion of yours, and you're very knowledgeable, and just to share those things in history that most people don't know, right? We went through a bunch of series of 7 things earlier today, how these are the things that aren't taught in history class. These aren't things that people traditionally do not know unless you're reading the encyclopedia, right?
Right. Well, I mean, that actually brings up a really good point. I mean, because it's Black History Month, right?
Yeah.
The month of February is Black History Month, right? Martin Luther King Day and all this kind of other stuff. And, I've always questioned so many things. There's so many PC people out there that are afraid to talk about the truth, right? They're afraid to bring up certain subjects because they're afraid of being called racist or something like this. And so, since I was a little kid, I mean, I've been sitting here trying to figure out what it is exactly that black people have done, not just for the world, but specifically for America. I mean, what is it that they deserve their entire month, but I've never seen a White History Month or a Hispanic History Month.
Where's the Latino History
Month? Right.
I
mean, where's the Asian?
Right? Or Indian, or Native American History Month.
Where's the Indentured Irish Month? Right?
Yeah.
Millions of Irishmen were brought here to America as indentured servants, which is just a fancy word for slave. Right? So where's this excitement to celebrate these other people? Why is it that we have an entire month dedicated to Black history when I can't think of a single thing that black people have ever done? Not just here, but anywhere in the world. And here again, I mean, so many people consider this to be a racist conversation, but it's not. I want to know. What have they done to deserve their own month of history?
Well, and that's a perfect question to be able to challenge somebody, right, who's listening,
Right.
to say, we want to hear your side of the story. You want to go against, and have an interview and have an open forum discussion? Well, let's have it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we
Absolutely.
challenge, the opposition to, prove your point,
Yeah.
We want to hear your side. It's not that, we're completely one-sided. I mean, it's, again, from the first episode, we're just some common sense patriots, right?
Well, we're some common sense patriots that love Guinness. That's what we are. Okay. It's not to throw out any promos or anything, but we're just, we're beer drinking Americans. We love motorcycles. We love this country. And I'm just trying to get some answers because I'm genuinely confused about some of this stuff. I'm genuinely confused about how America has gotten to the point that it is. And I think this can really bring us into maybe today's topic.
Yeah.
We've already talked about intelligence, and we talked about how messed up, wearing masks and all this kind of thing. By the way, just a quick shout out. If you're wearing a mask, you're stupid. Okay?
Look at the science, man.
Yeah, look at the
They
damn
do more
science.
harm than good.
You're breathing out bacteria into a catching net.
No, but what cracks me up is, how, and I almost wanted to do a meme about it, right? How you have those air fresheners, right? And you hang them on your rearview mirror.
Right.
That should be like pre-2020.
Yeah, right.
After 2020, it's the fucking masks. Everybody hanging them shits. So all those dust particles, right? All that garbage in the air is being collected in this fucking mask that you're hanging on your rearview mirror. And then when you go in Lowe's, like today, I'm standing outside of Lowe's, you see them grab it and they put it on.
Well, now it's two masks because Fauci said so.
I could throw 3 or 4.
Exactly. But I
like-
mean, this is how stupid people are. But anyway, let's talk today a little bit about how we've gotten to this point. And I think really the best way to break this down is to actually talk about the emasculation of the American man. Right? The reason that all this stuff is happening is because there's nobody left with any balls to stand up against it.
Yeah.
There's nobody that has an ounce. They don't have a hair on their nuts.
Yeah.
And when I say they, I mean, hell, I might as well throw us in there too, right? Because we're sitting here talking about it. We're not out there, rebelling or revolting. But this is what's gone on, is our society has become so emasculated that there are no real men left to defend simple freedoms, something as simple as breathing our own air. And man, I'm going to harp on this for the next 20 years, I'm telling you, because I cannot believe how stupid people really are. We talked about that last time, with intelligence. But so let's look at this a little bit. We've got we've got a system that is doing everything in its power to break up the nuclear family, right?
Oh, yeah.
Our divorce rates are through the roof. Our single parenthood, is just through the roof. We've got all kinds of welfare programs. Now they're talking about paying people to have kids. So this
having
is
children, yeah.
right. So this is the same thing like a German-style Kindergeld, right? Where you're going to pay people for their children until they become 18. So what do you think this is going to do? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that women are really going to want to stay with their men when they can get paid to have kids, and then
smut around?
yeah, exactly. They ain't got to work. They ain't got to do shit. All they got to do is collect that fucking government paycheck, and everything is hunky-dory, right? I mean, imagine how high our divorce rate is going to get. It's already, 50%? Imagine how high. Because here's the simple truth. When women, they have this mentality that they don't need a man, they want a man, right?
Yeah.
And all the men out there say, oh, well, fuck, man, then I'll just stay single. And it is crazy how emasculated men aren't real men anymore. Women aren't real women anymore. Nobody knows what their damn traditional roles should be. We're called sexist just for even talking about it, right? Toxic masculinity, and we're misogynists because we think that women should be at home raising their children, and we believe that men should be out providing for their families, right? I mean, that's what I believe.
I believe the same thing.
75 years ago, the World War II generation, that's what they did, right? They came home from war, and they took care of shit. They raised their families.
Yeah, but I look at it, it's not that that's just, how it should be, but nobody on the earth is going to love a child, well, with some exceptions, more than his mother.
Well, sure.
You know, and that's the ideology I had, when I had my first kid, and I told my wife, you need to be home taking care of that kid. You need to raise the kid, with the values that our parents passed on to us, and nobody else is going to do it better than us. I mean, nobody's going to care about your kid. I mean, they throw them all in a freaking classroom, right?
Well, that's what public education literally started out as, is almost like a daycare, right? It was a government-subsidized daycare so that both parents could start going and working. Mm-hmm. Before that, I mean, kids were homeschooled. They were sent to country schools, private schools, and, the community paid for the amount of education that they wanted their kids to go to. Kids did just fine going up to about 8th grade. They didn't really do much after that. They learned a trade. There again, they were self-employed. They were farmers, bankers, blacksmiths, whatever the case may be. They actually learned a trade and they learned how to work, right? Then the Industrial Revolution comes along right around the same time as women's rights to vote and, not surprisingly, prohibition and all this other shit, right? And so basically, the American man started becoming more and more emasculated because the women, they were in the workforce. They were able to provide for their own household. And they had a public education system that was a full-time fucking daycare. And this is exactly, it's literally a chain of events, one after another after another. Yeah. The government, maybe it didn't start out with them intentionally trying to crush the nuclear family, but it definitely turned into that very quickly.
Well, and yeah, just as schooling has turned into these indoctrination camps.
Sure, exactly.
So maybe they had it in their plan, but we're seeing it, throughout time. I mean, especially these colleges, man.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And that we touched on too, about, parents sending their kids to college to come back as some, socialists.
Right. Right.
Because again, I think I heard one of my dudes say it, not to call them, leftists or something. I mean, they're fucking full-blown out socialists.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So
sure.
I think maybe, we should start calling them that, right?
Well, I do too. And, that's kind of the thing with it is, going back to Woodrow Wilson, this country has been quasi-socialist for longer than any other country out there, right? The minute that the 16th Amendment was passed, that is socialism. Anytime that the government can take my taxes for any reason whatsoever, that is socialism. And obviously, the Department of Education and Head Start and all these other programs started coming along. When affirmative action happened, I mean, obviously, then you've got different groups of people that are trying to be on the same playing field that don't have the same intelligence.
Or skill set.
Right. And
same motivation, courage, right? Drive.
Right, but all in the name of equality, we've been forced into this social conformity, basically, where the government's in control, and if you go against it, then you get in trouble. Yeah.
Which is why a lot of people don't want to talk about some of the things that we're going to talk about.
Oh, sure, they're afraid.
They're afraid of fucking, get in trouble.
Right.
Or just, sharing some views, sharing some opinions.
Well, and even if we do get in trouble, I mean, it's kind of like, how, like Dinesh D'Souza, right, when he got arrested. Yeah. I mean, how much bullshit is something like that? It's going to come to a point where we do not have the freedom to make podcasts like this. We're going to get shut down by just about every group out there. I mean, Facebook and YouTube have already kicked us off, right? with our first video, right? It took them about 10 minutes to kick us off of there, right? So we're trying to do all these other platforms and stuff, and it's not easy because people are afraid. And, that's why I say, this whole mask thing, it's not about safety and health. It's about conformity, dude.
Well,
it's about
what they're
control.
using, and then they're using these freaking new stimulus checks
to
start pushing more socialist, platforms.
Right. Well, and see, that's what's happened over time is the American man has really become, and I'll say this straight up, the World War II generation, the hero generation, they were the last manly men in this country. They were the only ones that were willing to fight for free, right? Mm-hmm. They were the only ones that would give their life, liberty, they would give everything they had to protect this country. And that was it, man. Obviously the Vietnam era guys, they really fucked up that roll call, didn't they? But, this just goes to show as we progress, and I hate that word because I actually think that we are regressing. I don't think that anybody is progressing.
Yeah, no.
Just like
Keystone XL pipeline.
That's
fucking a prime example, right?
Well, yeah. And going back to calling people what they, I mean, I even hate the word liberal because nobody is truly liberal anymore. These people are socialists. They are communists. They're not liberals, dude. Liberal means liberty. Liberal, you know, like libertarian, right? Like
it's funny how they hijacked, you know, these simple terms.
They
right?
did, man. They hijacked it. Yeah. They think that they're standing for liberty. They think that they're standing for libertarian freedom. And they're not. They're the ones trying to take our damn freedom away.
Yeah.
And then you got these dumb shit Republicans that play right along with them.
WWF.
WWF, man.
Right?
WWE, right? Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash and all that shit, right?
Shawn Michaels.
I don't know any of the new ones. You know, I mean, I learned that shit was fake when I was about 10 years old, and I haven't really watched it since. But that's what our American politics have become. But the reason, you know, I keep going back to this. We have always known the Democrats' intent.
Yeah.
Right? We have always, there has never been a mask over what they were intending to do.
Yeah. And what they stand for.
Right. So
they fucking hate America.
Right. So we cannot blame them for following through on their own word. Who we can blame is everybody else who's out there complaining about this shit and never being willing to stand up and fight against it. And here again, the emasculation of the American man. During the American Revolution, they wouldn't have stood for this shit. Right? During the Civil War, they wouldn't have stood for this shit. They would have stood up and they would have taken back their damn country. By force.
Well, because, I mean, you know, you have all these people calling you, right? Your state legislators, you know, your representatives. I mean, how's that going for you guys?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Are you guys getting through?
Yeah.
I mean,
and
are
when
you getting them callbacks?
Yeah, right? Do you get one of those fancy letters in the mail that says your representative has heard your complaint and we will gladly take it into consideration?
Show face and give you a call back.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's a joke, dude. It is an absolute joke. These people are supposed to be elected to represent us. Yeah. They get there, and the only thing they represent is their special interest groups.
Yeah, like fucking McConnell this morning I read.
Yeah.
Vote your fucking conscience. How about vote what fucking plain English it says in the Constitution?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The first word says the president.
The president.
Well, Donald Trump's no longer the president, so why are you guys even going through impeachment?
Yeah.
I mean, and we're not going to cover the same shit everybody else is covering.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really give a...
It's all a known, right?
Yeah.
We know what they stand for.
Right.
We know they want to take our liberty and freedoms, right?
And
it's little by little
that
they're going to do it. They're in it for the long game.
And the reason they're able to do it is because no real men are standing up. We know that our Congress is a joke. We know that it's WWE, right? We know that. And we know what the Democrats' intent is. We know what it's always been. So why do we keep allowing this shit to keep happening over and... I mean, I've said it before, dude. If nobody was willing to stand up against the 16th Amendment, I can't imagine living in the early 1900s with the Industrial Revolution in full swing. I cannot imagine being somebody, especially somebody that may have fought in World War I, to come back and be like, okay, now we're going to start taxing people. For no reason whatsoever. We're just going to do it for the... I mean, look, man, it was all...
It was for the war,
well,
right?
that's what they say.
But it was the initial. It wasn't long-term. Well, obviously, it stayed in the long-term.
Well, exactly. Because good men weren't willing to stand up and say no. Right? I mean, it's just like Social Security. That was never designed to be a permanent pension program. It just, you know, little by little, the Democrats kept pushing, and they kept pushing, and before you knew it, it was a full-fledged program. And nobody was willing to stand up and say no.
Well, and they fucking stand together, man. I mean, they're fucking united. It doesn't even matter.
You got to give Democrats credit for one thing.
They're fucking united. That's why the whole fucking speech on unity.
Yeah.
They just want to unite the Democrat Party, right?
Fuck.
It's like, just shut the fuck up. Whatever we're putting out, you motherfuckers follow. Well, so they obviously intended it for everybody to unite. But that's fucking never happening.
No.
I mean, come on. How can you have so much space in between the two different ideologies, right? Freedom and then fucking, you know, control.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how do you unite those fucking two?
Well, you can't. But here again, we keep letting them get more and more power. We keep letting them get more and more law to go their way. I mean, look at this fucking stimulus bill, man. I mean, or this damn Corona bill, right? I mean, they were talking about it on the radio this morning, man. Fucking Like,
500
$500 million going to
other
fucking
countries.
Well, for stupid shit, like
Yeah.
fucking putting power generation plants in Nigeria. You know what I mean? And it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
How was that for COVID? Right?
Well, how did we get to this point where the American male or the American patriot is allowing this shit to happen? How? They keep calling that insurrection, right? They keep calling it an insurrection that happened when President Trump was up there in Washington, D.C. They keep saying that it was like a full-blown militia, all two people, that weren't even armed. How the fuck didn't that turn into a full-blown insurrection? How did it not? I mean, dude, why wasn't there fucking tanks and motherfucking paratroopers and all this shit? Dude, the people own that building. That building is not owned by the government. The people own that fucking building, dude.
Yeah, but I just heard yesterday that Trump did have 10,000 National Guard on standby.
Okay.
So if he fucking had, what the dude was trying to prove a point as to, if he had, the National Guard on standby, why the fuck would he incite this, like Chuck Schumer says, this erection?
Well, because this is all a joke.
Yeah,
this is all a joke.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the point, though, is I'm trying to understand, why didn't it turn into that? Why didn't it? I mean, I guess you and me didn't go up there, so I guess that's one. Like I said, I mean, we're part of the problem here.
Yeah.
We're part of the problem. We should have been there, fucking locked, cocked, and ready to rock. And that's straight up God's honest truth, man. When the U.S. Marshals come and knock on my door for making terroristic threats, which I have not done, I'm going to tell them, look, man, I should have been there. I should have been there. I wasn't, so they can't charge me with anything. But I should have been there. We have got to stop allowing this country to be run like this, dude. We have got to start banding together. All these people that listen to Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck and Mark Levin and all these guys, Sean Hannity. Look, man, I've got nothing against any of those guys. I love Dennis Prager. But
you listen to those motherfuckers all day.
All day long I listen to them, right? I mean, dude,
windshield
everywhere we go.
Even on the job sites, we got the radio rolling, right? We catch Rush or fucking Mark Stein.
But my point is that as much as I love listening to these guys, I also hate listening to them. Because they are part of the problem. They are part of the reason that American men have become so emasculated. They keep telling people not to fight. They keep telling people not to get violent.
Well, then people just tune in and listen to them, and they think that, they're doing their fucking duty by just listening.
Well,
right? I mean, just by being informed, right?
Right.
And it's not enough, guys.
It's not.
It's not enough.
Look, I mean, here's the bottom line. We have got to start standing up. We have got to start remembering our traditional roles. No. We have got to start bringing back our family and staying true to that nuclear foundation that has created the greatest country in the world. There's a reason why Europe can't compete with us. There's a reason, why South America can't compete with us. And a lot of it has to do with that family structure that we always had. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it had to do with that alpha male, that manly, masculine alpha male that wasn't afraid. I mean, dude, when we think about, some of the explorers and the pioneers, people who treaded across rivers and people who trekked across mountain ranges just for the opportunity to have a better life, right? Yeah. When we think about those Paul Reveres that weren't afraid to get on their horses and ride in defiance of the enemy, right? He knew that the minute he did that, he knew that he would be considered a traitor to the crown. Yeah. He knew that was putting a bounty on his head.
Still did it anyway.
And he still did it anyway. And that's what I'm saying here, man. I mean, look, man, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that I truly love. I mean, the Hodge twins, right? I mean, I love those guys. I bet if we talked to those guys, I bet we would agree with 99.99% of everything that we talk about.
Like I told you, I heard him say something on the other show, right?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, somebody else is just, oh no, we condemn the violence.
Well, man, we got to stop condemning violence.
And it's like, how the fuck do you deal with that bully in school, right? Does he fucking listen to you? dude, don't hit me.
Yeah, right?
Right? There's no until you punch that motherfucker in the face.
Yeah.
Right? Until you stand up for what the fuck you
Well,
know, for your damn self.
And let me talk about that real quick. We've only got a couple of minutes left, but here's really the scenario. The liberals in this country, and there again, I don't like to use the word liberal, the socialists in this country are just like little kids. Okay? They've never been disciplined. They've never been spanked. They've never been yelled at. It is the good conservative people that are the parents, right? We're the responsible ones. We're the business owners, right? We are the parents, and we have allowed these children to throw these temper tantrums and to keep acting like little shitheads. And they're going to continue doing this until we put our foot down and fucking spank them.
No.
They are going to continue acting like this until we actually lay down the law and show them what the fuck is up. And it's going to take violence, dude. This is not something that we can talk our way out of. It has gone way too far.
There's no talking, man.
There's no talking.
They have changed the language.
We can't vote them out. They've obviously proven that they're going to take our votes. Right?
Shit.
We can't talk to our elected officials because they are bought and paid for.
No.
This scenario is only achievable through one method, and that is to spank these little kids into submission. I mean, they need to learn who the fucking boss is. And if we're not willing to do that, then the problem is never going to go away.
It will continue.
It will continue.
It'll just get more, more hardcore, right? Out in the front, right?
Out in the front.
The COVID put them, they're not hiding shit.
They're not.
Everything is right there. They'll fucking tell you that this bike is fucking red, right? They'll say this is fucking red.
Yep.
And everybody will fucking believe it.
If you tell a lie enough times, people will believe it. The sheeple out there, right? What I call them, the sheeple, they will believe it. And this is the God's honest truth. I'll say it 100,000 times in 100,000 different videos. Evil only prevails when good men do nothing.
Yeah, I think that's a good fucking
slogan, a logo, yeah.
Little stuff. Maybe we should make some kind of stickers or something we can fucking hand out to people.
Right.
Anybody who comments, leaves negative comments, we'll just send them a fucking sticker.
I mean, here's what I want America to think about. I want America to think about how we can get these children back into obedience to where they are not doing any more destruction. That's what people need to think. This is our fault. We are the ones allowing this. So anyway, guys, we're going to start cutting our videos a little shorter, down to about 30 minutes or so, down to about 28 minutes, just so we don't have as much download time. We didn't realize how hard it was to download an hour and a half long video. But once again, always feel free to contact us. Feel free to comment. If you want to talk to us, we are more than willing to talk to you. So
opposing viewpoints too, we welcome it.
Yeah, absolutely. So
do some Zoom shit, whatever
Yeah. Happy hunting, and take off those fucking masks.
Take them off.
You know.